In a forgotten little corner of India, where dust curled in silent rolls and the world seemed to hold its breath, a young man made his home. The land stretched wide and quiet, no shopkeepers or bustle to be found, only the hush of the wind and the whisper of sand. Driven by hunger and a longing to create, he set out to open a humble tea stall. In his eyes burned a fierce dream, that someday, the scent of steaming tea, the clatter of cups, and the chatter of strangers would fill his small haven with life. Yet days slipped away like grains of sand, and no one ever stepped inside. Each morning he'd open his door with hope burning bright, and each evening he'd shut it with the taste of disappointment still clinging to his brow. The kettle stayed cold, the tea leaves began to lose their fragrance, but the stall was his lifeline, and he clung to it with stubborn resolve. One morning, as he sat waiting, a car drifted toward his stall. A flicker of hope danced in his chest. The car stopped just a few feet away, but the driver didn't order a cup, the heart was empty once more, and the boy sank deeper into the quiet gloom. On another day, two drunken men appeared, whiskey in their mouths, and as they laughed and pushed past, a mischievous hand touched the milestone beside the stall. They rubbed off the zero from the ink that read 10 kilometers. The stone, at last, reflected only 10 kilometers, without the zero. And from that moment, a strange magic unfolded. Travelers, perplexed by the crooked sign, began to halt before the small stall. One by one they leaned in, murmuring, "Brother, how far is Agra from here?" Each turned into a question of distance, each mouth offering the promise of a drink. A startled man in a faded jacket asked, "I'll have a cup of tea, please." The young man, who had never imagined his luck had shifted, watched the first footstep, then the second, then the third, as a thin stream of people flowed into his shop. His hands returned to familiar motions, the kettle hissed to life, steam curled into the warm air, and a bright smile blossomed upon his lips. On a clear afternoon, a traveler, heart full of curiosity, said the same question again. "Agra is about 10 kilometers from here," the boy replied, confident. The man frowned, confused, and replied, "But the milestone says 1 kilometer." The boy went the next day to the stone, his eyes tracing faint scratches alien to his sight. In those cryptic marks, he discovered a deeper truth. Something stirred deep within the heart, understanding unfurled. He bowed with reverent gratitude to the milestone, realizing that the very stone that had carried a wrong number had become the key that unlocked his destiny. Life, after all, often consigns us to a place of darkness, silence, and wasteful toil. We ask ourselves, why struggle so hard? But the answer, when we refuse to surrender, is that just before we yield, the story reshapes itself. The young man, weary each day but refusing to give in because hope is his only existence, found that the moment of change arrived when he dared to keep the flame alive. So remember, wherever you stand today, however bleak the sky, your effort is not in vain. The outcomes may yet be unseen, yet that does not mean they never will occur. We can never know when, where, or how our milestone will turn, but if we abandon hope now, that chance of change may vanish forever. For losing hope is not failure, abandoning hope is the real defeat. And perhaps tomorrow, just like the young man who once faced silence, your life will bloom into something you never imagined.